when I came out of college, we decided to put it together. We each had $1,000 when we put it together.
Suzanne Lockridge was born in Houston, Texas in October 1950. She discovered a passion for sewing early on in life. Upon graduating from UT Austin in 1979, she went to work for the Pierre Wolf Design Company as a scenic painter, and in 1983 embarked on a new journey with her acclaimed costume designer aunt, Irene Corey. The duo went into business together and formed Irene Corey Design Associates. Irene took Suzanne under her wing and mentored her in costume design. Locally, in the Dallas area, they became known as the Foam Ladies. Throughout the 1980s, Suzanne and Irene formed a fierce reputation for building larger-than-life costumes. In 1988, their reputation expanded as they embarked on building one of the most recognizable children's characters of all time.
We had a reputation already, and as the Foam Ladies, we were building things with foam, and so they liked our work at the Richards Group, and I think some of that overflowed. But they came in with their own concept. They had his name, they knew what he looked like. They were owning him from the beginning. And in fact, her family was the publishing company of the books and stuff in the children's world. So she had that foot in the door already, but she needed a three-dimensional character. That's what we were focusing on in this business for her. It went through many stages. There was the one that was painted, but that was quickly going to deteriorate. So we decided it needed to be covered. Mm-hmm. And the foam had to be just right, the right density, and anyway, it had to be just right. The fabric had to be just right. But yes, when we first started, I painted that foam. I think after it was glued together. That was just the beginning. We didn't stop with that. Mm-hmm. We knew that we had to cover it with fabric. We tried to cover it with spandex. That didn't work. So we ended up with this stuff that's called Antron fleece. Antron fleece, and had it custom dyed from the mill. And so we had lots of bolts of Barney. And he started taking up some space. And we were able to expand our business by one whole unit. And doubled our space. But it didn't double our workload forever. So we eventually learned that the Antron fleece is what the Muppet people used. So when we got down to making more than one at a time, we made a different pattern in another way. Production, they set up a studio at the Lions Group is what it was called. And so in their warehouse they had a hangar for Barney. And so when they received him, he was retrofitted with the mechanics.
Suzanne and her team built all of the Barney, Baby Bop, and BJ costumes from 1988 through the show's end in 2009, even after Irene Corey retired in 2005.
Tonight, if you add all the green ones and the yellow ones, BJ and Baby Bop and Barney, I think there was more than 100. Wow. That was a lot of dinosaurs. They had it sketched out like a comic strip. So that pattern, that pattern came quickly. They were going into production for the show, and they wanted it like next week. They wanted to know, wow, be off with it by next week. And so that was kind of the story about Baby Bop. They didn't even have an approved design yet, and we were already starting to build.
Suzanne, Irene, and their team found themselves building over 100 Barney, Baby Bop, and BJ costumes over the years. In the beginning, the Lions group would order one Barney costume at a time. But after a while, Irene and Suzanne's workload became so unpredictable that they started to require the Lions group to order 4 costumes at once.
And so I said, you're going to get the same Barney you got last time. And this time you're going to buy 4. You're not going to buy one at a time anymore. You pay for 4 Barneys today, or I don't care if I ever make a Barney. There was one time when they tried to do Barney birthdays. And so they wanted a cheaper costume and smaller, not quite so sophisticated. And I made a few of those, but it didn't get, the concept didn't fly. You know, they were talking about private birthday parties with the Barney. Yeah, the detailed head, and but the head was still separate. I could work the head. I could put his eyes in and make everything finish, and then deliver it to them.
Over the past couple of years, I had the opportunity to speak with Suzanne on a couple occasions, and she was just an extremely sweet lady and truly had a passion for what she did. She really was an inspiration to many, and it was because of Suzanne and Irene and me observing their costume work with Barney that inspired me to get into puppet building and to costume making as a teenager. And I know many other professional puppet builders and costume makers that have similar stories in watching Barney and being inspired to get into the craft. Really, in my opinion, Suzanne is one of the most talented and underappreciated costume designers and builders of the 90s, 80s, and 2000s. You know, for the past several years, Suzanne has struggled with Parkinson's disease since she closed her costume shop in 2015. And although it eventually took her life, it will never take her memory. And we will always remember Suzanne as an incredible costume designer, incredible costume builder who brought Barney to life for over 20 years. And for that, I am incredibly grateful. You know, I'm incredibly grateful to her and to Irene for really perfecting their craft and for bringing joy to millions of children. They're touching our lives as children. You know, everyone that was involved with Barney during his run, you know, they all had their part to play. And Suzanne and Irene's part was really critical to the character, to bringing him to life. And I think they did an incredible job with that. And I think they should be proud of the legacy that they left on the world. So join me in celebrating the life of Suzanne Lockridge.